Laser!
This next-gen demo is presented by State Farm.
All right, Rev 3 Games at E3 here at the VivaTouch booth. We are about to talk about one of those preeminent franchises that both scream sort of next-gen and well, it's about to do something very, very ambitious. I'm here with Patrick Bach. He's the executive producer at DICE. And we're, of course, talking about Battlefield 4. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for letting me be here.
So, finally, 64 players on a console. I'm curious, because the Battlefield multiplayer is its own unique take on multiplayer, what had always been the limitation that didn't let it have that many players?
I think in theory you could probably have had more players, but then you would have to remove other stuff that is at the core of the Battlefield experience, like the vehicle experience, for instance, which is a very, very core thing for Battlefield. You want the helicopters, you want the jeeps, the tanks, etc. They also added the element of destruction, which is also now a very, very core and intricate part of the Battlefield experience. So it's about what you remove to get to that with the current gen consoles. And with the new generation consoles, we don't have to cut anything. We just add full 64 player support, 60 frames per second, and keeping everything, which is brilliant.
Well, let's take a look at some of this, so we can sort of walk through the rather impressive stuff. It reminded me a little bit more of, let's take a look right here. Oh, this is actually the single player. So
no, this is the multiplayer. This is the on stage. Yeah,
that's an inadvertent compliment to you. So this started to be more reminiscent of my experience playing Battlefield 1945. Now, because of all the space and the verticality, the level of invention that you're giving the player. I mean, what was kind of in terms of this level design? What's the focus for the player experience?
I think the focus for us is, of course, to keep the pillars of what Battlefield stands for. Making sure that you have the option of choice. You can find your way through the battlefield, and when designing this particular map, we wanted to create something that we've never created before, a full urban experience with both the indoor tight experiences, like here you go into the subway system, which is quite cool. And then, of course, when you go out on the streets, you have that full, vehicular combat, which is very, very impressive. You have a section where you can go out on the water. We have boats. We're improving the water gameplay, and we're also improving the water gameplay for the infantry soldier. Because if you fall into the water or you get, have to bail the ship, you can now sprint, swim. You can duck underwater. You can defend yourself with your sidearm. So, we wanted to keep and evolve on the Battlefield experience.
So, even though there's 64 players, just the size of this map, I mean, what have you done to ensure that you still have enough groupings of combatants together that stays fun? I mean, it seems like you could inadvertently squirrel yourself so far away from where the action is, it'll take you forever to get there.
No, that's actually true. That's a big problem. The city is a big place.
Yeah, a very big place.
So we have to limit the player in some ways by not having you being able to go into every room on every floor in every building, for instance. So we kind of try to funnel the players to where the fun is at. And examples of this is, of course, where you place the control points. So this is the conquest mode of Battlefield, where you're supposed to take control over 5 control points. You have your 2 home bases and 5 control points. And you know that when you see that the enemy takes over a control point, that's where you want to go, because you want to take that control point back. And that will drive the gameplay quite a lot, because people want to control the whole map. And when you leave, stop defending a control point, you know that the enemy will go there and take it from you. So it's very interesting to see how the movement of these 64 players is quite organic. They kind of move around the map to try to control the whole map.
We haven't gotten to the more spectacular sequences of destruction, but that is a very impressive. I mean, it's one thing to see it in single player where you have a far more controlled environment. I mean, what does that mean in terms of what you have to account for in terms of just level design if these things can start falling apart all over the map?
You're hitting a very interesting point here. The cool thing with Battlefield now, when we have this amount of destruction that we have today, where most walls will actually break if you shoot at them. If it looks like it can break, it can probably break. You need to take that into account when you design the maps, of course. And especially when you take down a full building like this, you need to know what happens when you've done that. What's the benefit of it, and what problems is it causing? Because you don't want players to only try to take down the building at all times, because it doesn't really add anything. There's also a disadvantage for doing this, and we can see that when the building actually collapses, it creates this huge dust cloud that then covers the whole city, which is then limiting the view distance for instance, pilots and snipers, which is then a problem for them because their advantage of the clear day is now gone. So that also is a part of the concept that we call levolution, which is a very dynamic way of playing through a map. The map will evolve throughout the actions of the players in a very dynamic way. And here the commander is giving you some help with a tomahawk, hitting the tanks that are pounding on the building, trying to take it down. And of course, you're too late and you have to bail.
Right, because you realize danger is...
yeah. You shouldn't be in a falling building.
So, in terms of just... well, first I have to ask you about levolution. Was that 5 or 10 minutes to come up with that term?
It was the best thing we could come up with that encompasses everything that we're doing.
So, okay, this is the part that I thought was quite spectacular. In terms of the parachuting, I'm interested in, other than trying to escape a situation, have you been able to figure out ways in which there's a strategic offensive way that you can take advantage of it?
Quite a lot. You know, in this example, of course, you see that they're bailing the building to escape it. But what you can also do is go up onto that building and then fly down and land on top of different rooftops to find different advantage points. For instance, for the recon soldier, that's a very, very offensive position. Here you can see the counter knife mechanics that we have, so you can actually defend yourself against someone that is trying to knife you, which is really, really cool. So parachuting is actually both a defensive and an offensive move.
So Patrick, I think my final question for you, and this has come up in some other interviews and it's a discussion that's out there, that obviously the military shooter is probably one of the most profound things of this generation.
Yeah.
I think there's a group of core gamers that express in that core gamer way their sense of exhaustion. I mean, how do you see that type of game? Obviously there's also Call of Duty. How do you sort of see that perpetuating into this generation, or the one that's about to start, where it can stay fresh and can still stay vital?
I think that's up to the creative minds of the teams that are building the games. A great game is a great game. That's this does not have to do with the genre or with the setting or what time era it's in. I think it's important to look at what makes your game feel fresh and interesting, and look at what benefits does it give you to be in this era or being this time zone. So to me, it's more about if you feel fatigue because everyone is doing the same thing, then of course that's a problem. But that doesn't mean that you can't make a great game in this case, a modern military setting. So, and I hope with Battlefield 4 we're proving that you can still make it feel fresh. I think you could end up following the wrong trends sometimes. You see trends rising, everyone's doing sci-fi right now, which is cool, but what happens in 2 years with fatigue in sci-fi, and you go back to modern military and blah blah blah. I think it's more about what you do with it than what the actual setting is.
Well, I gotta say, if you're gonna have buildings falling apart, I think you found a little bit more vitality inside of the genre. Patrick, thank you so much for your time. Battlefield 4, of course, is coming out at the end of this year. Is there a set date?
Yeah, October 29th on the PC and the current gen consoles. We don't know the ship dates of the next gen consoles.
But so Battlefield 4 will be there for them.
Yes, it will be there for them.
Well, thank you so much. I hope we get to speak again soon.
Thank you.
Having insurance isn't the same thing as having State Farm. With agents available 24/7, 365 days a year, they will help you get to a better state. Learn more at statefarm.com.